All right, welcome back. So today we're going to take a look at how to utilize tineye.com and archive.org to investigate images that we find online. All too often we're looking through historical content, we're looking through historical features, and honestly we have a ton of images that have been uploaded online, and a lot of them look good. A lot of them look like they should be trustworthy, they should be something that we can use, but we need to be able to find a little bit more about the sourcing of it. And this is going to be incredibly helpful, not only for historical research, but also if you're ever curious about news, what's going on in the world. You think, this image is posted and what they say, this is a big riot happening here, and you're like, well, let me see. Like, is this the first time that's posted, or is it older? So that's a skill-based thing that applies to both historical research as well as life in general. So we're gonna get right into it. As a reminder, we're looking at there's this area during the kind of the crusading era. We'll get into some of the issues with, periodization and things later. So we're looking through these, Aachen, the seat of the Frankish Empire, which will be addressed by the Pope, who lives in Rome, who was asked to help by Alexius I, who's coming from Constantinople, and ultimately the end shot of this is the crusading era, which is focused on Jerusalem, but realistically the crusading states and the Baltic regions were all subject to the crusading as well. So to get to the next slide here, we're looking at the tasks. So it's kind of a long list of tasks of the things we're going to do. So first we're going to identify an image from the internet. Now we have a couple areas that I can show you that I've already taken some from, but you can also find your own. And we're going to go to tineye.com. Google search also has this. I don't like their sorting feature quite as much. So we're going to go to tineye.com and search for all the versions of this internet, of this image. And we're going to go to archive.org to find any URL that doesn't exist anymore. Because if you find an image from 2008 or 2009 or something, oftentimes the website that first, had that image up is no longer a website. It's no longer being hosted, but there might be some cached version of it, which we talked about last time. So then after that, we're going to just copy and paste all the images into the following slides, right? We're going to make the most credible and valid source for the image. We're going to not really worry it too much about getting the most, because if there's a couple thousand versions of this online, I just want you to find a credible one. Then we're going to identify the criteria that made you feel that it was credible. We're going to find at least one least credible. And again, don't stress about this. Just find something that does not match your criteria for being credible. And then we're going to write down what we found out about the actual image source itself. So at the end said, we're going to move on, and so I did plug in some of these images, and I'll go through them relatively quickly. But these are all images that I pulled off the internet, looking specifically at the Fourth Crusade. The Fourth Crusade was one of the first ones where we have a couple of accounts, one by Joinville and one by Villehardouin. And they're written out accounts, but I really wanted to just kind of do a scrape of the Google image search to take a look at what these things look like. So looking around these, there was one in particular I wanted to investigate, and that's actually the map. I wanted to see where this map came from. So there's a couple ways that you can do this, and this is going to be me getting out of the presentation mode and get into the computer mode, because the ways that we have to do this are kind of on the edge here. So we go here. Let me click this guy and escape here. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You could actually just go into the file, and if you're wondering where the files are, so we're in 1.2, Who to Siege Next, and I have the PowerPoint right here. And as soon as this video is over, I'm just going to have a tutorial video right here. The other place you can find this is the presentations using tineye and archive.com to investigate an image. So once you go into those, and I'll just do it the way that I'd anticipate you would do it, right? So you click on this, and you're going to get the images here. So you're going to have to save the image. I'm going to save the image, and so I'm going to come back down, and you can kind of see how the sausage is made here. So I click here, I'm going to right click, you know, and oh, that's fun. So I hit Control S, and that's going to give me the ability to save this entire page, right? So even though it's not playing very nicely with me, what I can do is I can copy it, or I can actually just download the entire download as, and that will give me a copy of the PowerPoint. I'm not going to duplicate it because that seems a little problematic because I have one up and running right now, but you'll download this as and then go into the image, and then once you have that, then you'll have exactly what I have on my screen over here, and you can take this and you can go to Control, and then you can save your picture, right? So save as picture. So I'm gonna come here, and I'm just gonna call this something. I'm gonna call this map. Let's see, what year is that? 1355. And I'm gonna give it a 1 here. I'm gonna just put that right on my desktop. All right. So once I have this image, and the other thing I can do, and this is a super helpful, super handy thing, is you come over into your search and you're looking for the snipping tool. So if I click on this, and it's kind of bringing it up in my other window, but you're going to type in snipping tool, and you're going to end up with something that looks a lot like this. So this is not ideal for actual image searching because sometimes it'll skew the image, or the image has been skewed, and so it's looking for an exact search for, match for this. So if I click new here, I come down here and I can just grab this, and it's kind of like a copy paste of any one section of your screen. So that comes up, I go to File, I go to Save As, and I'm actually going to call this the same idea. So right in my app, I'm going to call this 1355 map snip, because I want to know that's the snip of it. I'll go ahead and save that. All right, now get to the more interesting part of things, and get the more relevant. Once you have your image, and you can do this a number of ways, but once you have your image, what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the top here, and I'm going to get out of this, kind of close out some of these things, and I'm going to go to a new tab, and I'm going to just type in www.tineye.com. All right, so it gives me up to tineye. So I have a couple of options here. This is just going to do a reverse image search, and the options I have here are I can either just paste the URL of an image. So if I if I take this this little guy right here, I guess that's not an image. That is an image. So if I go to, Fourth Crusade site.edu images here, you're going to see a lot of the images I pulled. So if I go to this one, I can actually just right click and copy the image address. Let me caveat that. You have to click on it first, because what I just clicked on was actually the thumbnail inside of Google. So copy image address from here. I go to tineye, and I paste it, and I hit enter, and then tineye just searches the internet for it. It takes a little bit longer, but yeah, 388 results. And we can see that all these places it came from, right? All these different versions, all these different variations. And so we're going to do that with our map now. So this time, instead of pasting it here, I'm actually going to upload it. And I'm just curious. I'm actually just curious about what my snip looks like. So I'm going to go to my desktop over here, Let me go all the way to the top. I want to look at this snip. I want to see if that worked. It may not have. 194 results. And it looks like I'm getting the yeah, some good hits here. So when you go to tineye, you can filter by a couple things. You can filter by domain. So this will tell you all the websites and all the web pages that hosted this. We talked about domain and the importance of domain last time, and it looks like this is a good one down here because I'll have a utexas.edu, which I'm happy about because I trust those Texans at the University of Texas because they're getting tax benefits for being at .edu. All right, and then you have sort. I could go by best match, but realistically, I don't want the best match because I'm investigating the background and the history of this image. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the oldest match. I want to see the first time it came in. And it looks like the first time I'm getting anything was in February 7th, 2008. All right, good to know. So I can just click on this and it will take me to that website, February 7th, 2008, and here we go. So this is the fact that the hotpicturesvideos.com folder Byzantine Empire is no longer a web page. It's no longer hosted. And you're going to find this all the time. But there's a little workaround here. And the workaround is this. So I'm just going to open a new tab. I always like to duplicate my tabs. I don't know why. I'm going to open a new tab and up in the URL, I'm going to type in archive, archive.org. And that will give me the what's called as the Wayback Machine. We talked about how websites are cached by search engines because search engines actually go through and they use web crawlers and they kind of pull out all the data and all the information from every single web page, and that's how we make Google searches fast. That's how we make Lycos searches fast. That's how we make all searches fast because we already have all the information in a database. And the archive.org allows me to take this and say, hey, I don't want to search the internet right now. I want to search the internet of all time. So I'm going to paste that here. I'm going to hit enter. And it's going to come up with some hits, right? And actually, it looks like there's only one time this website was saved. So I'm not going to be able to go back to the exact match because remember that one was in 2008 and this is in 2007, but it's pretty close. That was in February 2008 and this is in like late 2007. So we need to go down here and all of the dots that you don't see are places that there wasn't things snipped. But here we go. December 2nd, 2007, there was a single snapshot taken of this website. 2516, my assumption is that is a time frame of, I don't know, maybe related to 00, so probably Zulu time, which is kind of a combination of military time and Greenwich Mean Time. So here we go. Here is the 2007 version of this website, and if anybody was curious about the internet that I grew up with, this is it. So like I said before, we're not going to be able to get the actual image exactly, but this gives us some detailed ability to look into, I don't know, just what the website is kind of designed and revolved around. Except for this, which interestingly enough, all right, so I'm going to open this in a new tab because I want to get rid of my old tab. I'm going to see if this actually crops up here. So the Wayback Machine actually does, Wallachia. All right, so Wallachia is where Dracula is from. So we actually do have an image from this in 2007. So we went back further than the Wayback Machine will allow us to, which makes sense as it goes kind of cut off. So we have, the Byzantine Empire over here. We have the, which is way smaller than it was. We have the Ottoman Turks, the Seljuk Turks that came down from this northern area and kind of conquered this whole land. And so we can see that this is basically the world view and the world we're looking at. We have a couple of pieces here, and so this is what we want to do now. Now we want to look at credibility, reliability things. So let's get back to this, get back to the skills, and get back to the page that you have, which is actually the Google form. And I'm gonna have to pull this up from mine because I'm all logged into this. So I'm gonna get into my Google Forms. I'm gonna go down to this. We're gonna image search reliability. We're gonna go this one. We're gonna go share, and this is the URL that I gave you. So this is the site that you should be looking at, right? So it says, "Hi Jacob. When you submit this form, the owner will be able to see your name and email address." Yeah, that's because I want to know who's turning in stuff. So you have a couple options here. You can upload the file of the image that you saved. If you saved it right to your desktop, it's super easy. You just click on the upload file. You come up here to Map Snip. You say open that, and it'll take a little time, but it'll end up opening, right? And then it says, or paste the image address below. So we talked about how we went to the Byzantine Empire, and what I could do is I could actually just click on this. I go to this image, I could right click, and I should say copy image address. And then in my reverse, I would say paste it below. So you don't have to do both, I did both because I'm a nerd. All right, describe what's happening in the image. Like I do in a town here, too hard, but realistically, what's happening is the image is they're basically depicting geographically the borders of the political, and it's a political map, right? So, political map of 1355, depicting graphical boundaries, right? And if I could spell, that'd be helpful, right? All right. So the most credible place we found this, it's going to have to take us back to the, Wayback Machine, and we're going to look at the most credible source. Now, I would say, based on our search results with the Wayback Machine, I'm going to go way back and Wayback Machine and see if that brings me to it. Might have just deleted that whole thing. Here we go. Oh, it doesn't like that? That's fine. Going back into our source here. Yeah, that's fine. Guess we'll just start that process over. Like I said, this video takes a long time. The actual process of doing this. I'm going to filter by domain. I'm going to come down to the edu because that's definitely going to be the most reliable in my book. We got 2014, and we have a kind of an updated one here. But yeah, this is going to be the most, I would say this is the most credible one, right? So we come here, we're gonna say this, go back, and like I said, there's a reason I tend to open things in new tabs, and it's because things are kind of frustrating. So file name is Byzantine Empire 1355 JPEG. So I'm gonna open that in a new tab, and this is actually found in 2016, so I'm actually gonna open that one up. Because the newer versions are typically going to be more reliable when it comes to .edu sources. Byzantine Empire, 1355, and here it is, right? So this is our image, that we found on the Wayback Machine. It's a copy of what we have. And it's published in 2016 by the Byzantine Empire. And it's interesting because it actually references this as well. So we now know that the Historical Atlas by William R. Shepard in 1911 was when this document was produced. So we have all of this information from the University of Texas. And so what we can do is come back here and plug this in. And once again, too many tabs open. I'm going to start deleting some of these just so we can. So what's the most credible? Paste the URL. So I come here, I come here. This is the most credible URL that I can find. So I copy it, bring it here, and I paste it. Describe what makes me think. It is a credible URL. Well, you're going to have to put in your criteria. I don't want to make this video any longer than it needs to be. So, .edu and published recently. Least credible place. So we're going to have to go back to tineye search, and we're going to come back here. And I would say that the least credible place that I was finding was, we have a blogspot.ca, right? We have a Thinking the Lion's Mess, but I would say of all these things, the blog is likely the least. So we'll take a look at that guy. Here, this is from 2017. I've changed. This is from 2016. All right, so we're going to pick this first one here, open that in a new tab. And this is in Greek. We're going to take a look at this in English and say, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and call this our least credible. I mean, just based on the way it kind of looks here in terms of, they've got a lot going on. They've got a lot of kind of broad. This is obviously a tertiary source, or even beyond that. So I come back here, copy our URL. It's not even secure. Copy this. Insecure blog site with lots of different information. And then what would we find out about it? The who, what, when, where, how, and the source. That was actually brought up by the actual texas.edu. Come in here, and we're going to take this over here, and we're going to drop that into our answer. And then send me an email receipt of my responses. I want to see this, because when we discuss these things in class, I want you to have answers that you submitted. I'm going to go ahead and hit submit, and hopefully it works. All right, so here we go. Thanks. Good work. Be sure to submit 3 total. Oh, I got to do that twice more? All right. Well, I'm going to get working on my work. You get working on your work. And remember, this is a skill of investigation, and it really takes an investigative mind. You have to be willing to dig into this and be interested and engaged in this. And for historians, we're not fans of the big sweep of just give me the first image, give me the first thing, and it's good enough. For historians, the more you dig into these things, the more you dive into these things, the better historian you're going to be. This isn't a place for a quick turnaround. You can dive very, very Marianas Trench deep into the background and the production of the image, and even who this person was now that we know who it is, and the worldview of 1911 versus the worldview of 2020. So real historians are really curious. That's how I want to